Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What Businesses Need to Know Right Now. I'm your host, Nettie Owens from Sapari Group, and today I have with me Peter Cotton from Best Sales Talent. Welcome, Peter. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I'm excited to interview Peter. I've asked him for a little while to join me on this show because he has such a wealth of knowledge and experience, and it's stuff that you're going to want to know about if you are looking to hire sales talent, if that's on your plan for this year, or if you've experienced it in the past and you want to make sure that you know the right things to be doing right now to hire sales talent. Peter is your person to know. So welcome. Peter has been helping change people's lives by assisting in sales talent, sales managers, and marketing professionals, helping advance them in their careers and place them in the best possible environment for 45 years. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So let's just dig in here to our conversation today. What is it, especially in this environment that we're experiencing right now, what is it that people need to know about hiring and recruiting sales talent?
The first thing they need to know is that it's a candidate-driven market currently.
Mm-hmm.
There are far more jobs than there are qualified people to fill them. And when an employer runs a job advertisement on a job board or on their website, sure, they're going to get a lot of responses, but the quality responses aren't always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do get a response, or if they're using a recruiting firm, they have to realize that these candidates are being approached by other companies at the same time. So a candidate really has many opportunities to pick from. And employers who drag their feet, who take too long and have too many days or weeks in between each step of the interviewing process are really setting themselves up for losing that candidate because they're going to get another offer elsewhere and they'll be gone.
Right. I think, this applies to not only recruiting for sales talent, but just recruiting for talent in general. What are some ways that we can shorten that timeline to make sure that we don't lose our great candidates in the process of trying to hire them?
Well, the short answer is you use a good recruiting firm who's going to identify really what it is that you need and then go out in the marketplace and find it. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to find it by approaching passive candidates. These are people who are not looking for a job. They're thought well of where they're at. They're probably a top performer. They don't have a resume put together. They're not looking on job boards. But when a recruiter approaches them, they'll listen. And if the recruiter is, competent, what will happen is he'll get the candidate to talk further, and pretty soon he's getting that candidate in front of the employer for an interview.
Excellent. All right. So, it seems to me that a firm, can help find people who are kind of, just waiting in the recesses, right? They're waiting for a great placement, a great opportunity, and they may not even be thinking about it. But when one comes across, if it's the right fit, they're ready to take action. So
Right.
that is definitely something that as a business owner, it's going to be challenging to do or find these people because this isn't part of your daily work. This isn't on your radar. It sounds like finding a great firm is going to be your number one way to get the best talent.
Correct. And not all firms are going to be the one that you need. You have to do some research. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, my firm is called Best Sales Talent.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost tells you what it is that I do.
Right.
And I recruit sales management, and marketing talent for client companies.
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be other firms like the Jones Group or the Parker and Associates or whatever they're called. You have to find out what it is they specialize in.
Mm-hmm.
And within that firm, there might be a recruiter who works very specialized areas that might coincide with what you're doing in your company.
Mm-hmm. So, other than taking too long in the hiring process, what are some other pitfalls that we need to avoid in this search?
Other pitfalls. Well, there are so many.
Okay, pick one.
All right. First of all, you need to know how to read a resume.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, employers just skim and they're looking for some key word, but they don't really get into the meat of the issue, what the person's done.
Hmm.
And a good employer has skills at interviewing, which is using behavioral identification interviewing techniques, asking them to tell me about a time when you did this, or describe a time when you were in this kind of situation, or how did you handle this. Behavior is a very good indicator from the past as to how they're going to do in the future.
All
So
right.
they need to be able to identify those questions to ask other candidates.
Is that something that a firm can help with to make sure that you're asking the right questions once you have that candidate in front of you?
Indeed, there is. We offer those questions to employers.
Hmm.
I even offer a workshop in behavioral identification interviewing techniques.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
that might help some
Mhm.
employers who haven't been trained on how to interview, who, an entrepreneur is good at everything else but interviewing.
Right? That tends to be the case. There's so many hats to wear when you're leading a company that, the expectation that you would be great at all of them is just, not possible. So finding these places where you can get just the skills that you need for that task to make sure you do a great job. I mean, placing people, hiring people, and then having them not work out is such a huge financial loss, that you do want to make sure you get the right people in the right seats at the right time, and that it's a fit for the long term. Um,
Do you work here? You seem to understand it pretty well, Nettie.
I have seen bad fits, and I've seen the cost of a bad fit.
Yeah.
And it's painful because it really drags the company down. It drags morale down. The person leaves not having a good experience, and maybe not because the company is bad, but just because of these missteps in the hiring process. And so it's just so critical.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you don't
I,
want to have a candidate have a bad experience, because they're going to be talking to a lot of people about what happened, whether you like
right.
it or not. A good candidate experience will give you a customer one day, and it'll certainly give you someone who's going out in the market and telling other people what a great company you are. And maybe people will now approach you and want to go to work there because of what they heard.
Yes, I mean, there's so much information out there about companies and how they treat their employees that it would serve any manager and CEO well to make sure you're treating your employees really well. And the best place to start is in the hiring and onboarding process. So, how can candidates find the best opportunities? You said that a lot of times these candidates are just quietly doing their work and they're not looking for employment. So, how can those that are looking for employment opportunities find them and do so in less time?
The short answer is work with a recruiter. The long answer is um, you have to be managing your career. It's
Mhm,
not something that you just get a job and you let it go by itself. You have to have an idea what you want to do in your life.
mhm,
And by managing your career, you would probably do some research on the industries that you're interested in and the companies that you're interested in. And a smart person would then read up on the company, and they'd get in touch with people who work there to ask them, what is it like working at that company? Do they have any opportunities for someone like me? And would you make an introduction for me? That kind of networking really, really helps.
mhm. It
Um,
feels like matchmaking on both sides,
oh,
really.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as far as the recruiting goes, the recruiting firms, uh, they need to make friends with a recruiter who's going to work with them. And how
Mhm,
you make friends with them is you talk to them about your career, about what they do, tell them that you're planning on moving into this industry or that industry, and you'd like to have some advice. And you send them articles or notes just to keep your name in front of them.
mhm.
I've even had candidates who said to me, look, this is the industry I want to be involved with. Here's a list of the 20 companies that I would go to work for. Here's their websites, their phone numbers, and the names of the VPs of sales.
Wow.
And if once they gave me that list, I had very little prep work. I could simply call those 20 companies and present that candidate. So
Mhm.
you can save a recruiter time and also raise your visibility to them by doing things like that.
Right. So really making a partnership with your recruiter, both of you going, and this is on the same. So your recruiter is just that middle person, and the candidate is forming a strong relationship. The company is forming a strong relationship, and you, as the middle player in that, can make really great placements because of it. Recommendations, you know more people, and you know more of what they want.
Right.
This was super helpful. I know I've kind of picked some things up that I did not already know about recruiting, and I think that anybody who's looking to make to hire should be considering what you've shared here. So thank you so much, Peter. If people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way that they can continue this conversation?
They can go to my website, bestsalestalent.com. They can email me at pcotton@bestsalestalent.com. They can call me at 401-737-3200.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure some folks will be reaching out. I think it would be silly if they didn't, at least to ask you some questions about how they can make this process a little bit easier. Thank you so much for being here, Peter. I've really enjoyed our conversation. If you have enjoyed our conversation listening, I'm so glad that you stayed on with us. I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button so when we go live the next time, you'll know, and you can join us for the next conversation on what businesses need to know right now. If you would like to meet people like Peter, I would invite you to check out the MomentumCEONetwork.com, where you can meet other peers like Peter and other CEOs, and have conversations one-on-one with them. Thank you all. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Nettie.